Yes, good evening, guys. So, how are you? Dinyash, Anish, Jyoti, Priyanka, and all others who are joining in, who are still in the process of joining, and Muntazir Ansari. Yes. So, students, we are into the second part of this chapter, fraud and responsibilities of auditor in this regard. So, today we will be doing second part of this chapter, which pertains to reporting of frauds, especially in the context of companies. So we would be studying reporting of frauds in context of companies, in context of provisions of Companies Act 2013. So simply it means how an auditor has to proceed if he finds fraud during the course of an audit. What are the reporting requirements? What are the legal requirements? How he has to report? Where he has to report? What are the relevant legal provisions of Companies Act 2013 in this respect? So these all things we will be discussing today. Okay. So today we will be discussing reporting requirements of fraud under Companies Act. It is in the context of companies. Okay. So this portion, first portion which we had done day before yesterday, it was a general commentary on fraud. Okay. It was mainly in context of SA 240. That what is meaning of fraud, what are its characteristics, what induces management or employees to commit fraud, okay, and what are the different types, like there was fraudulent financial reporting and there was also misappropriation of assets, and we had also discussed fraud risk factors, which factors uh, are present in an organization which increase the possibility of frauds. Okay, so today we will be discussing reporting requirements relating to fraud in context of companies. Okay, in broader context of Companies Act 2013, their provisions. Okay, so is that clear? Is that clear to you guys what we are going to study today? So this topic is also related to your chapter on company audit. I think chapter number 10, and some of the things might overlap. Some of the things might overlap. So when you would be reading the chapter on company audit, you would be gaining a better perspective. So for the time being, you can understand what is the scope of provisions of Companies Act 2013 as regards to reporting of fraud by auditor is concerned. So guys, I think day before yesterday, uh, Abdul had asked what happens if fraud is discovered by auditor. Now we will answer this question in the context of companies. As per provisions of Companies Act 2013. So the relevant section is section 143 subsection 12 of Companies Act. Section 143, subsection 12. Now, what does this section state? It states that if the auditor of a company, while he is conducting audit, during the course of performance of his duties as an auditor, he has reason to believe that an offense of fraud is being or has been committed. Is being or has been committed. By whom? By the officers or employees of company. Okay, then the auditor shall report the matter to central government. But this is subject to a caveat that fraud should be of an amount as may be prescribed. It should be greater than this amount as may be prescribed. Now rules prescribe this amount and it is 1 crore or more. So very important to remember, the amount is 1 crore or more. Okay guys, so is that clear? Is that clear to you guys? So we will once again understand the provisions of section 143 subsection 12 of Companies Act 2013. It states that if the auditor of a company, okay, if the auditor of a company in course of performance of his duties, in course of performance, it means when he is performing the audit, in course of performance of his duties, one thing is that has reason to believe. Second thing is he should have reason to believe. So mere suspicion, he cannot proceed merely on suspicion कि fraud हो रहा है. He must have some credible information in his hand, some sort of evidence that would prompt him to believe that fraud is being conducted. So fraud is either being conducted or has been conducted. Or has been committed. By whom? By officers or employees of the company. So this is also the condition, that fraud should have been committed by the officers or employees of the company. And what is the threshold amount? The fraud amount should be greater than 1 crore or above. Individually. Say individually fraud of one case should be 1 crore or above. Say if it is 1 crore, even then it is covered. If it is more than 1 crore, then it is also covered. So only when the fraud amount is rupees 1 crore or more, okay, then the provisions of this section 143 subsection 12, these are triggered. These become operational. So the monetary limit is also important, and all these elements are also important. So guys, is that clear? Is that clear? Now, Abdul, you are asking to whom does auditor report? We are coming to that. To whom does the auditor report? We are coming to that. So section 143 subsection 12 states that the matter shall be reported by the auditor to the central government. To the central government. Now, in the central government, to whom? To which authority? And what is the procedure? How this is to be reported? So these are prescribed under rules. These are prescribed under relevant rules of Companies Act 2013. So now we will see what is the procedure of reporting fraud of rupees 1 crore or more in the context of companies by which has been found by the auditor, whether it is being committed or it has been committed and auditor has found it. Okay. Now, Karthik, you are asking who are officers? Officers like directors. They are officers of the company. So the definition of officer is officer as per Companies Act is in section 259. This is the relevant section defining officer. So you would be reading it about in your company law classes. Okay. Is that clear? So individually one amount should be rupees 1 crore or more. Individually it should be 1 crore or above. Okay. It is not the sum total. Individually. The Act specifies the word individually. So guys, clear? So now we see what is the procedure of reporting the fraud. Under section 143, subsection 12 and relevant rules. So what is the first step? Say if an auditor discovers fraud of this amount or more than this amount, 1 crore or above, then first of all, he shall report the matter to whom? To board. To board of directors or audit committee, where audit committee is required to be constituted. Now you would say, then again another matter will arise. What is audit committee? This you would be also studying in your chapter on company audit. For the time being, you can understand that it is a committee constituted under section 177 of Companies Act. It is a committee of directors. It is a committee of directors and its purpose is to improve the standards of corporate governance. Like it has a role in reviewing the financial statements. It is an oversight body. Okay, so like it has a say in the appointment of auditors. Like it reviews the audit report also. What are the remarks of auditors? So it is a basically oversight body. Not every company is required to constitute it. Only listed companies and some class of public companies, the details you would be reading in chapter 10, are required to constitute audit committee under section 177 of Companies Act 2013. So clear, guys? So first of all, matter should be reported to the board. Students, you understand that the company works through board. Company works through board of directors. It is the board of directors who are responsible for governance of the company. So, and audit committee is also one of the important components of corporate governance, of corporate governance mechanism. Okay, so it is again a committee of directors, and the purpose of it is to improve, to vet financial decisions, to improve standards of corporate governance, how a company is governed, to bring more transparency. Okay. So first thing is report the matter to board or audit committee as applicable. If the company is such that it is required to constitute audit committee, then matter shall be reported to the audit committee. Or if the company is such that it is not required under Companies Act 2013 to constitute audit committee, then matter shall be reported to board. Clear? Within one time, within what time? Within 2 days, not later than 2 days. जैसे ही उसको पता चला उसके 2 दिन के अंदर it shall be reported to the board or audit committee. Okay, so this is the first step. Now what is the second step? So guys, you are comfortable with writing on board. So I first want to explain to you generally. Then we will go to your module. So guys, are you comfortable with board first? Yes. Drop your mails. So report matter to the board or audit committee. Within, okay, and ask them to submit their reply within 45 days. 2 दिन के अंदर तो उसको रिपोर्ट करना है बोर्ड या ऑडिट कमेटी में, और with this thing that they should give the reply to him in further period of 45 days. Okay, so fair enough. Now it might so happen that audit committee or board replies. Audit committee or board replies, say within 45 days. Then what would be the next step? Then he will forward his observations along with reply, along with this reply, plus reply within 15 days. Okay, to whom? To central government. Now what happens, say if board does not reply or audit committee does not reply to his request, then he will wait for a period of 45 days. If no reply is received, then he will say, okay, I had sent this communication and the board or audit committee as is applicable has chosen not to reply. Okay, and he will then forward his observations along with the letter he sent. Okay, so clear guys? Now to whom to which authority this report shall be submitted? Now it shall be submitted to Secretary, Ministry of Corporate Affairs in a sealed envelope. So you are asking which authority? I think Abdul, you are asking. Now it is clear to you. It would be sent to Secretary, Ministry of Corporate Affairs in sealed cover through registered post or by speed post, followed by an email confirmation. Okay, and what should be the format of this? Whether there is some format specified or or the auditor has to write generally how the fraud occurred. So guys, there is a statement, there is a form which is specifically specified, which is specified. There is a statement in the shape of a form which is specified under Companies Act 2013. So the name of this statement is ADT4. Remember, it is very important. ADT4. So statement in form ADT4 is required to be filed by the auditor if he discovers fraud in a company which is rupees 1 crore or more. Is that clear? Is that clear, students? Yes, yes, students. Any issue up till here? Let me know if there is any issue up till here. So students, do you want to see how ADT4 looks? Yes, tell me guys, do you want to see how ADT4 looks? What are its contents? Although it is not per se in your module and only you have to remember its name, but whether you want to see how ADT4 looks, what are its contents? Tell me guys. Tell me students quickly. Yes, this is the form number ADT4. Now this is not in your details or not in your syllabus. It is not either not in your module, but for better understanding so that you have a picture in your mind. That is why we are showing it to you. You have to remember the name of the form ADT4. So report to the central government. Now to whom? To the central government? Secretary, Ministry of Corporate Affairs. Because the MCA, Ministry of Corporate Affairs, controls the affairs, is a regulator in case of companies. All the forms are required to be filed in on MCA website. So what does it state? Report under subsection 143, subsection 12 of Companies Act on suspected offense involving fraud committed or having been committed. Okay. So guys, now I had told you at the beginning of this chapter that auditor does not legally determine whether fraud has occurred. So it is for the courts to decide. That is why it is saying suspected offense, because the act also uses the language reason to believe. Okay, so when the auditor feels he has some cogent reasons to believe that fraud is being committed or has been committed, then it has to be reported. Now you can correlate the things. Okay, so what is the name of the company? Registered office, name of auditor's firm, his membership number, address, these kind of basic things. Now, or other general things. Now, what it asks? Address of the office or location where suspected offense is believed to have been or is being committed. Place, which office? Say like a company might be having many locations or it has been committed at the registered office. So full details of suspected offense involving fraud. So how the auditor came into to the conclusion that fraud is being committed? How he arrived at this conclusion? Okay, particulars of officers or employees who are suspected to be involved, because you remember, guys, section 143 subsection 12, for reporting under this section, it is necessary that fraud should be conducted by officers or employees of the company. So that is why this form is asking information regarding officer or employee, like what is his designation, whether he is director. Okay, if he is director, then he is director identification number, PAN number, basis on which fraud is suspected, period during which fraud has occurred, and date of sending report to the board or audit committee, when he informed the board, whatever we have studied right now. Did he receive any reply from the board? Date of reply received from the board or audit committee. Whether the auditor is satisfied with the reply, yes or no. Okay. Estimated amount involved in the suspected fraud. What is the amount involved? Say it is 2 crore or 5 crore. Detail of steps taken by the company in this regard. And this, and verification, name, sign, and any attachments. So guys, now you can have a feel of the whole thing, feel of the whole section of the provisions of Companies Act 143 subsection 12. Is that clear? Yes. Yes, guys, is that clear or some issue is remaining? Now, Pranav Vashishta, you are asking what is the difference between being committed and has been committed? Say the auditor discovers some situation where the fraud is continuing. The fraud process has not been over, it is still continuing, it is still being committed. And has been committed means where he believes he has some evidence, he has some information that which causes him to believe that fraud has been committed. But presently, when he is doing audit, then it is not being conducted. Then it is not being committed. So is it clear to you, Pranav? Now, Varsha, you are asking what if fraud is less than rupees 1 crore? Yes. Now we are coming into next. We are coming into this. Now, what if fraud amount is less than 1 crore? Does auditor have no duty in this regard, or does he have some duty? What if fraud amount is less than 1 crore? What would happen in such a case? So one thing is clear, that in such a case, the auditor will not report to central government. Because he has to report to central government, precisely to Secretary MCA in form EDT 4 when only fraud amount is 1 crore or above. Okay. So what if fraud amount is less than 1 crore? What will happen then? Then the auditor shall report the matter to the board or audit committee only. Whatever might be applicable. If the company is required to constitute an audit committee, then he will report to the audit committee. If the company is required not to constitute an audit committee, then he will report to the board. Okay. Again, within the not later than 2 days of coming to his knowledge, he shall report the matter within 2 days. Okay. And what he will state? He will state who are involved in fraud, name of persons, and nature of fraud, with description that how fraud occurred, nature of fraud with description. Okay, and the contents of these would also be declared in the board's report, in the board of directors report, that what was the nature of fraud with description, approximate amount involved, and who was involved, and what action was taken by the company. Okay, so it is very logical. Like, what was the amount involved is the important thing. Which are the parties involved? It is the important thing. What follow-up action, what remedial action has been taken? It is an important thing. Okay. Now, Anish Oja, you are asking if auditors reported to MCA and found that there is no fraud, is there any legal action? So how he can report? It is a very serious matter, Anish. वो ऐसे नहीं report कर देगा unless he is completely satisfied, unless he has credible information in hand. You have to understand, guys, that it is a legal serious matter. It is not that he would report fraud like anything, like a drop of hat. Okay. It is a very serious matter. The reputation of the company, reputation of those charged with governance, and as I have told you, it is a criminal offense. Okay. So unless he has some credible information, only then he will report. No, Abdul, you are saying that if some key managerial person tells the auditor that fraud is being committed, so the auditor cannot proceed on the basis of hearsay or some oral information. उसने किसी को बात करते हुए सुन लिया या उसको किसी ने कुछ कह दिया. So whether it is a credible information, it can only create a doubt in his mind. That's all. He would have to test those things. He would have to test those things. अगर उसके पास कोई information है या उसने कोई hear से भी है, then he will check by performing audit procedures in this regard. ऐसे तो वो मिनिस्ट्री को रिपोर्ट नहीं कर देगा. So you are asking now, Priyanka, if the auditor reports the audit committee after 2 days of his knowledge. Now this is you cannot treat the things hypothetically, Priyanka. Now when he becomes certain, simply you can understand, do not ask illogical questions. Simply you can understand when he becomes certain that fraud has occurred. Now this is, if I happen to discover, then this is up to me. Say I became certain, or I have credible information on 18th November. Okay, then who can check whether I had the information on 18th November or 15th November? Okay. Yes, Pranav, you have also to understand that this process that board has to reply is applicable only when the fraud amount is 1 crore or more. If fraud amount is less than 1 crore, then the auditor's duty stops here. After sending the report, his communication to the board or audit committee, his role ends. It is only when the fraud amount is rupees 1 crore or more, then he has to, it is provided in the law that a reply of the auditor's observation has to be given by the boards or audit committee, and he would consider that reply while forwarding his statement in form ADT4. This you have just seen in the form ADT4. What was the column there? Whether the reply received was satisfactory or not. Yes or no. Okay. मोहम्मद आबिद whistle blowing भी आएगा. Whistle blowing भी आएगा. Do not lose heart. So is that clear to you guys? This thing of reporting under 143 subsection 12 is largely clear to you, is broadly clear to you. So what are the key things to be remembered from an examination point of view? You have to remember that threshold amount is 1 crore or more. Okay. Number 2, that fraud has to be first reported to the board or audit committee, and what is the number of days? Within 2 days of coming to his knowledge. Then it has to be reported. Then the board or audit committee has to reply within 45 days. And in another 15 days, he would be sending his report. To whom? To Secretary, Ministry of Corporate Affairs. Okay. And what is the name of the statement? Very, very important. ADT4. Guys, remember the name ADT4. Dinyan Shingle, what are you writing, guy? Sir, can auditor report that fraud is occurred in his audit report? क्या मतलब है दिन्यांश, समझाइए मेरे को इसका. इसीलिए मैं आपको कहता हूं कि आप वर्ड्स को, आप लाइंस को फ्रेम करना सीखिए, नहीं तो एग्जाम में कहीं के कहीं पहुंच जाएंगे. एग्जाम में स्टूडेंट्स बोलते हैं कि हम लिख के आए हैं लेकिन हमें आईसीआई ने मार्क्स नहीं दिए. दिस इज टोटली रॉन्ग, बिकॉज समटाइम्स आपके दिमाग में कुछ चल रहा है, यू आर थिंकिंग दैट यू हैव रिटन करेक्टली, बट you are not writing properly. What was required to be written, you are not writing. It is not on your answer sheet. So the examiner would only check what is written in your answer sheets. How can he know what was going on in your mind? Yes, Dinesh, tell me what you precisely you want to ask. Yes, Dinesh, I am waiting. What precisely you want to ask? What is your query? I think mail is coming little bit late. So now let us go to module. Yes, Dinesh, your mail has still not come. Now, as per section, yes, if his opinion is affected. Now, Dinesh, you are saying whether it has to be reported in audit report. So this will be coming later on in second part of, in the subsequent part of this chapter. So I will be explaining to you there. Okay, now you have framed the question rightly. So I would explain to you right now within after half an hour. We'll be coming to this topic. So as per subsection 12 of 143, auditor of a company in the course of performance of duties as auditor has reason to believe that an offense of fraud involving such amount or amounts as may be prescribed is being or has been committed in the company by whom? By its officers or employees. By its officers or employees. Then the auditor shall report the matter to whom? To the central government. Okay, clear guys? Is that clear? So it further states that if an auditor of a company in course of performance of his duties has reason to believe that offense of fraud which involves or expected to involve individually an amount of 1 crore or above is being or has been committed against a company by its officer or employees. Okay. The manner of reporting to the central government is what we have discussed. That 2 days, then seeking their reply in 45 days. Then on receipt of such reply, the auditor shall forward his report or observation of the board or audit committee. कि उनका व्यू पॉइंट क्या है. बोर्ड, इसका मतलब ये है कि बोर्ड और ऑडिट कमेटी का व्यू पॉइंट क्या है. से द ऑडिटर ने बोला कि ये फ्रॉड आपके यहाँ हुआ है या हो रहा है जिसका से अमाउंट 5 करोड़ है. ओके, देन the purpose of these provision is to have perspective of board or audit committee. What do they think? Okay, along with his comments, okay, to the central government within 15 days from the date of receipt of such reply. तो जब उसको रिप्लाई आ गई बोर्ड या ऑडिट कमेटी से, so he will send this along with his comments within 15 days from the date of receipt of replies. अगर वो बोर्ड और ऑडिट कमेटी से कोई रिप्लाई नहीं आती, so he would simply say that no reply was received and he had made a communication and no reply was received. Okay. Now Mitesh Bhai Patel, you are asking if those charged with governance, they pressurize the auditor to give clean report. Now it is for the auditor to decide whether he wants to conduct audit in accordance with the standards on auditing or he succumbs to pressure. Okay. Obviously he would be giving his report because you have to understand, Mitesh, that if the auditor has discovered some fraud and he does not report to the central government, he does not follow these procedures, then he himself is liable to penalty. The auditor himself is liable to penalty. The penalty amount in case of listed companies is 5 lakhs and in another companies it is 1 lakh. So if the auditor has discovered fraud, then he has to report. Okay. Yes, Abdul, within 15 days from the expiry of 45 days. So the report shall be sent to the Secretary Ministry of Corporate Affairs. This is important. Secretary Ministry of Corporate Affairs. By registered post with acknowledgement or by speed post followed by an email in confirmation of the same. All the things we have discussed. The report shall be on the letterhead of the auditor. General things contain his phone number, address, email, okay, membership number. The report shall be in form of a statement which is ADT4. This we have discussed and I have shown to you. And this matter relates to that if the amount is less than 1 crore. Okay. Then if the amount is less than 1 crore, then what would happen? Then the auditor shall report the matter to audit committee or board, but immediately, but not later than 2 days of his knowledge of the fraud. And his report shall contain the following things. This we have already discussed. Nature of fraud with description. What was the fraud? How it occurred? Basically, details. Approximate amount involved. So obviously, logically, it would be less than 1 crore. Because if fraud amount is 1 crore, 1 CR or more, then obviously the procedures of reporting to central government would have to be followed. Okay. And parties involved. Who committed the fraud? Which employees he suspects or which officers? And disclosure in board's report. Now this whole thing has to be discussed in the board's report also. Okay, that companies whose auditors have reported frauds under subsection 12 to audit committee or board but not reported to the central government. So in case the frauds of a amount lower than 1 crore, then the amount has also to be disclosed in the board's report. Okay, which is prepared in accordance with the provisions of Companies Act. That nature of fraud, approximate amount involved, which are the parties involved, and remedial action taken. Clear, guys? So this is the, again, this is a chart in your module explaining the same process in a step-by-step manner. What we have discussed, the same thing, just an overview. So clear, guys? Now, one more important thing is that it is very important to note that these provisions shall also apply mutatis mutandis. What does it mean? Same, ditto to a cost auditor and a secretarial auditor. So guys, in some case of companies, a cost audit has also to be conducted. Okay. So again, you would be reading about it in your chapter on company audit. And secretarial audit by CS has to be also to be conducted in certain conditions. Okay. Then these provisions of reporting under section 143 subsection 12 also apply to a cost auditor and secretarial auditor also. So it is not only the statutory auditor who is a chartered accountant, firm of chartered accountants, but also a secretarial auditor or a cost auditor. Okay, these provisions exactly same to same ditto apply to them also. So it is quite possible that they might also discover some fraud. So again, if they discover some fraud of 1 crore or above, then same procedure has to be followed. Now reporting for, we are concerned with reporting. So Abdul, you have to understand few things, that in auditing, what matters is reporting, how the thing is reported. अगर आपने सब काम अच्छे से किया है लेकिन आपने रिपोर्ट में आपने कुछ नहीं लिखा, या रिपोर्ट आपकी क्वालिटेटिव नहीं है, रिपोर्ट में क्वालिटी नहीं है, देन होल थिंग विल गो वेस्ट. आप किसी चीज को जितना मर्जी अंडरस्टैंड कर लें, लेकिन अगर आपकी रिपोर्टिंग क्वालिटेटिव नहीं है तो इट विल गो वेस्ट. So Abdul, I have already explained same, exactly in the same manner. Mutatis mutandis means that exactly in the same way as this section 143.12 applies to a statutory auditor, it also applies to a cost auditor and a secretarial auditor also. Okay. And now, if say the statutory auditor or cost accountant or a company secretary who is a secretarial auditor does not comply with the provision of subsection 12, now there is a penalty. Now if it does not comply with the provisions of subsection 12, then in case of a listed company, the CA, he shall be liable to a penalty of rupees 5 lakhs. So this is also an important amount to remember from examination point of view. And in case of any other company, be liable to a penalty of 1 lakh. So clear हो गया. Listed company है और उसने 143.12 में फ्रॉड रिपोर्ट नहीं किया, वो प्रोसीजर फॉलो नहीं किया, देन उसके ऊपर पेनल्टी है 5 लाख. और अगर कोई और कंपनी है विच इज नॉट ए लिस्टेड कंपनी, देन द अमाउंट इज रुपीज 1 लाख. Clear students? So reporting on fraud is already detected and reported. Now some student had asked probably what is the possibility of reporting on frauds already detected and reported, whether he has to report. Say if a fraud has already been detected by the management, by its internal control system during the year. A fraud has occurred, say of an amount, say even it is 1 crore or more, it has already been detected. And the management knows who the employee is, they have taken action, they have tried to recover the amount, say they have recovered some amount also from him. So whether the question arises whether the auditor is again required to report that fraud under section 143 subsection 12. No, this is not the intention of law. Section 143 subsection 12 requires the auditor to report when the fraud is discovered by him as a course of auditor, whether it is being committed or has been committed. He digs out. Okay. So what would happen in the case, say the fraud has already been discovered by the cost auditor or a secretarial auditor? Okay. So then the auditor has to see that what action has been taken by the company in this regard. What remedial action has been taken by the company? Okay. Say if he is satisfied with the action, then he need not report it to the central government. But everything comes with a but. But if he is not satisfied with such steps, okay, then he should state the reason for his dissatisfaction in writing and request those charged with the governance to perform additional procedure to enable the auditor to satisfy that matter has been appropriately addressed. If the management does not address that issue, then the auditor shall evaluate whether matter should be reported to central government. Then again, he should evaluate that matter should be reported to central government. He should assess. So guys, you understand this? Yes, guys, you understand this point that under section 143 subsection 12, the auditor has to report fraud when it is being committed or it has been committed. When he finds during the course of performance of his duties. Now say some fraud has already been found in the company by the management itself. Say some employee is committing and before being discovered by the auditor, the management has found. The management has found it. Okay, the internal control system of the company, the internal control mechanism of the company has been able to find it. So in normal cases, the auditor would not report this matter to the central government. Okay, what he would say, he would ask the company to provide him what steps you have taken, what remedial steps you have taken. Okay, who was the employee? Did you identify the employee? What steps were taken to recover the amount from him or to file to take legal action against him? Okay, because fraud is a criminal offense. So if the amount is not recoverable, the company may proceed to take legal action against him. Okay, by filing a suit, etc. And if such an action has not been taken, or if the statutory auditor is not satisfied with the reply of the board or audit committee, then he can evaluate. He should assess whether matter requires reporting to central government or not. Okay, then it is left to his judgment. Now, Abdul, again you are asking hypothetical questions. This is a totally hypothetical question. Okay. So clear? Up till now it is clear to you guys. Now we come to another thing. Now students, there is somebody was asking what would happen to the audit report. Say fraud has been discovered, what would happen to audit report? Now one is, when you would be studying your chapter on company audit, you would be studying about the contents of audit report under Companies Act. Okay, under section 143, and you would also be studying about CARO. Now you would say, what is CARO? CARO is Companies Auditors Report Order. It is its full form. Companies Auditors Report Order 2020. Okay. So it is known as CARO. So when you would be doing your chapter on company audit, so there is a whole topic on this, what is to be included, what is to be reported under CARO. So CARO, one is audit report, which is the main audit report, you can say, which is given under section 143 of the Companies Act. Now where the auditor gives his opinion and he reports on some matters as are required under that section. And there is also a reporting done in case of companies, in case of certain companies to whom CARO is applicable. So normally you can say that CARO is not applicable to a small company. Okay, and other companies are also exempt, like banking, insurance, and certain private companies. So details you would be studying in your chapter on company audit. Certain private companies, these are also exempt from CARO. So in all other companies, the auditor has to report on matters to be matters specified under CARO. Now, what does CARO contain? So CARO is an order issued by central government, which has many clauses. Say there are one clause, two. So there are many clauses which require reporting on different matters. Like it requires reporting whether items of property, plant and equipment, these have been verified by management at regular intervals, whether inventory has been physically verified. So whether there are some undisputed statutory dues of the company. So there are many clauses in which the auditor has to given information clause wise. In every clause, some information is required to be given. Okay. And one clause number 11. Clause number 11. Clause 11 of CARO 2020 relates to reporting under fraud, reporting of fraud. It also casts a duty upon the auditor for reporting of fraud. Now you should understand, guys, that reporting under CARO 2020 is an independent requirement from what we have studied under section 143 subsection 12. क्लियर है भाई? जो 143.12 में रिपोर्टिंग रिक्वायरमेंट है उससे CARO 2020 टोटली इंडिपेंडेंट है. 143.12 में तो रिपोर्टिंग करनी है अगर अमाउंट 1 करोड़ या उससे ऊपर है. ओके. और 1 करोड़ से नीचे है तो उसमें प्रोसीजर है कि बोर्ड और ऑडिट कमेटी को बताना है. लेकिन CARO 2020 में कुछ एडिशनल इंफॉर्मेशन फ्रॉड के लिए पूछी गई है जिसको कि ऑडिटर को रिपोर्ट करना है अंडर क्लॉज 11. कई क्लॉजेज है CARO 2020 में. आप जब कंपनी ऑडिट का चैप्टर पढ़ेंगे तो उसमें आप क्लॉज बाय क्लॉज पढ़ेंगे कि CARO 2020 में कौन कौन सी चीजें रिपोर्ट करनी होती. तो जहां तक इस चैप्टर का कंसर्न है, we shall be restricting ourselves to clause 11 of CARO 2020. Okay, so we shall be discussing only about clause 11 of CARO 2020 because it relates to reporting of fraud. So guys, you understand? Yes, guys, you understand. Now, guys, do not ask, I would say, frivolous questions which have no value. Like Pranav, you are asking why auditor's report is written in brackets. Now it is the name, it is how the rules have been framed. The name of CARO 2020 is full form is Companies Auditor Report Order. अब ये छोटी छोटी बातें भी क्या आप guys, you are not applying your mind. Companies Auditors Report Order क्या मतलब है इसका? कंपनीज का ऑर्डर है जो कि सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट ने इश्यू किया है. किस बारे में है? ऑडिटर रिपोर्ट के बारे में है, इसलिए ऑडिटर रिपोर्ट ब्रैकेट में. समझ आ गया प्रणव आपको? इन छोटी छोटी चीजों से पे आप अपनी एनर्जीज वेस्ट करेंगे जिनका एग्जामिनेशन पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से कोई लेना देना नहीं है। सिर्फ आप ये, जब हम स्टूडेंट्स, यू हैव टू रिमेंबर, if you do not realize what is important or what is significant, then your mind wanders into small things, into frivolous things, जिसको हिंदी में मैं कहूं तुच्छ बातें। तो आप कई क्वेश्चन आ सकते हैं, ऐसा है तो ऐसा क्यों नहीं, ऐसा है तो ऐसा क्यों नहीं, बट it is good to ask question, but you have to see what is the relevance of that. So क्या आप पूरा चैप्टर पढ़ेंगे तो क्या आपको ये लगेगा कि ये ब्रैकेट में क्यों लिखा है, whether it is relevant. So आप ऑडिट करने, आप आगे ऑडिटर बनेंगे अगर आपका रेलिवेंस का लेवल इतना रहेगा तो आप स्टूडेंट ऑडिट कैसे करेंगे। तो मेरी बात का बुरा मत मानिए, I am just trying to make you the things understand जो आपके खुद के बेनिफिट के लिए ही है। So Pranav, I think you have taken it in the right spirit in which I have told you. Abdul, same thing you are asking, why it is given in bracket. Yes, Abdul and Pranav, you are taking it in right spirit in which I am trying to tell. Yes, yes, guys. साइलेंट है बिल्कुल, आप बताइए। Yes, drop your mails whether you have been able to gain import of what I am trying to say. कि एनर्जी स्टूडेंट्स आपको अपनी इनसिग्निफिकेंट मैटर्स में वेस्ट नहीं करनी है। Yes, you are saying, Abdul, yes. You are saying that you are applying professional skepticism. No, Abdul, it is not a case of professional skepticism. Okay. So when you are applying professional skepticism, you have also to keep into mind level of materiality, isn't it? You have also to keep in your mind the concept of materiality, which runs throughout the audit as per SA 320. Okay, so clause 11 of CARO 2020, तो थोड़े लाइटर मूवमेंट्स भी होने चाहिए स्टूडेंट्स। So what does it ask the auditor? It asks the auditor to report on fraud. Three things it asks the auditors: frauds reported or noticed or reported during the year. Noticed or reported during the year. Frauds noticed or reported during the year. और सेकंड चीज क्या है? Reporting on filing any statement in ADT 4 during the year. ADT 4 हम पहले डिस्कस कर चुके हैं। Number 3, whistleblower complaints, if any, received during the year. Received during the year. So students, these three things, these are the three things which are to be reported by the auditor under clause 11 of CARO 2020. So what are these things? Number one is frauds noticed or reported during the year. Now here the auditor, students, you have to understand that he has to report fraud which are noticed or reported. What does it mean? So either the fraud has been reported, okay, say it has been reported under 143.12, okay, or it has already been reported to the management, or noticed, he has noticed, or the fraud has been noticed during the year by the auditor or by somebody else. Okay, so here what is the difference between this requirement and 143.12? Here, there it was, even if the fraud was being committed, he was suspecting that a fraud is being committed, then he was also liable to report. Here, frauds noticed or reported during the year. And under 143.12, it was frauds by officers or employees of the company. Okay. And what is here? Here it is the frauds on the company. Here it is frauds on the company and by the company. It is not limited to the only officers or employees, but frauds by the company. Frauds, say some fraud has been committed by the company on third parties, or fraud has been committed by the company by way of fraudulent financial reporting. Okay. Or fraud on the company, some other parties, some employees or some third parties, they have committed a fraud on the company. So this is the main difference between two. This is very much, this is so much that you require to understand at this level, at intermediate level. So do not split your hair, guys. ज्यादा इसके बीच में मत जाइए. जितना आपको बताया गया है वो आपके इसके लिए सिलेबस के लिए इतना सफिशिएंट है. ओके. रिपोर्टिंग ऑन फाइलिंग एनी स्टेटमेंट इन ADT4 ड्यूरिंग द ईयर. तो अगर कोई ADT4 में फ्रॉड ऑडिटर ने रिपोर्ट की है तो वो उसको भी यहां पे रिपोर्ट करना है. It has to be reported under CARO 2020 and whistleblower complaints if any received. Whistleblower complaint है कि कंपनी में कोई किसी आदमी ने फ्रॉड के लिए अलर्ट किया ऑडिट कमेटी को या बोर्ड को कि ये ऐसा फ्रॉड हो रहा है, कोई कंप्लेंट आई. whistleblower means a person who raises an alarm. Okay. So and then what the board or audit committee has done about it. Okay. So whether any whistleblower complaints were received during the year, this the auditor has to report. So is that clear? So clause 11 of CARO 2020. Now we will go into the module. What is written there? Yes. So the auditor is required to report under clause 11 of paragraph 3 of company's auditor's report order 2020 whether any fraud by the company or any fraud on the company. By the company or any fraud on the company. आप इसको डिस्टिंग्विश करें अब 143.12 के साथ. वहां क्या था? वहां था फ्रॉड बाय द एम्प्लॉइज एंड ऑफिसर्स ऑफ द कंपनी. यहां है एनी फ्रॉड बाय द कंपनी, द फ्रॉड हैज बीन कमिटेड बाय द कंपनी और फ्रॉड हैज बीन कमिटेड ऑन द कंपनी. कंपनी इटसेल्फ इज द विक्टिम, somebody else has conducted fraud. Okay. has been noticed or reported during the year. If it has been noticed or reported, it means that it should have occurred. If it is not merely a suspicion, it should not be in the process of being committed. Okay. If yes, the nature and amount involved is to be indicated. If yes, there is no threshold limit. जैसे उसमें 1 करोड़ या बिलो 1 करोड़ वाला मैटर था, 1 करोड़ से ऊपर सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट को रिपोर्ट करना है, इसमें ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. यहाँ पे आपको खाली रिपोर्ट करना है. If the fraud has been committed by the company or on the company, yes, then nature, what is the fraud, how it has been committed, and amount, irrespective of the threshold. Okay. No, Rajendran, you are asking if frauds are if whistleblower complaints are reported, then concept of confidentiality be not compromised. No, what is confidentiality here? Confidentiality means that the auditor is he does not leak certain information relating to his client. He does not give key financial information to others who are not entitled to have this information. It is not in any way concerned with confidentiality. And when regulation is asking, further regulation, law itself is asking to report whether whistleblower complaints have been received. Anyway, this is not connected with confidentiality. Confidentiality means that I shall keep the financial matters of my client confidential. Okay. When the law is asking me to report anything, then I have to report. Now, Abdul, again, you are asking frauds noticed by management before auditor, then auditor should report. Yes. If the fraud has been noticed by the management before the auditor, then it has to be reported in CARO. Now, here the reporting is very wide. Whether the fraud has been noticed or reported. Okay, whether it is already in the information or the auditor has discovered. Okay. So the auditor is also required to report whether any report under section 143 again, whether form ADT 4 has been filed or not. This the auditor has to report. And whether the auditor has considered whistleblower complaints, if any, received during the year by the company. During the year की बात हो रही है, audit period means say जिस period का audit हो रहा है, say 2021-22, then it is relating to that. So guys, you have also to understand that reporting is also very specific. You are not entitled to write general things. कुछ भी लिख दें ऐसा नहीं है. These have to be reported within a specific time frame, in relation to a particular year. All things have to be specified. Now, company is artificial legal person. How can company do fraud? Yes, artificial legal person can do fraud. तो ये सत्यम कंप्यूटर्स आपके सामने है. सो कॉर्पोरेट वीएल के पीछे कौन है? If the company is an artificial judicial person, it means that it is a separate legal entity in itself. Obviously, a separate legal entity, it has to be run by somebody. कंपनी खुद थोड़ा जाके फ्रॉड करेगी, लेकिन किसके नाम में फ्रॉड हो रहा है? वो तो कंपनी के नाम में रहा है. करेंगे तो कोई आदमी ही, बट किसकी अथॉरिटी में? कंपनी की अथॉरिटी में. ओके. So the scope of auditor's inquiry under this clause is restricted to following. So 3 things are there. Number 1, frauds noticed or reported during the year. Number 2, reporting on filing of any report in ADT 4 and whistleblower complaints if any received during the year. Okay, fair enough. So guys, you have also to understand that merely by reporting under this clause, ऑडिटर की रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी खत्म नहीं हो जाती है. He is not absolved from his responsibilities. His responsibility is not diminished. कि मैंने CARO 2020 में क्लॉज 11 में रिपोर्ट कर दिया. But if there is a misstatement in financial statements, then he has to see what is ultimately effect on his opinion. So this is a CARO 2020 is a separate reporting requirement, separate regulatory requirement, okay, on certain matters. उसमें कई चीजें हैं CARO 2020 में, जैसे कि मैंने आपको बताई, उसमें से एक पॉइंट फ्रॉड का भी है. लेकिन यहां पे CARO 2020 में रिपोर्ट करने से केवल ऑडिटर की रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी खत्म नहीं हो जाती जो SA 240 में है. ओके, सो by requiring the auditor to report whether any fraud by the company or on the company has been noticed or reported does not relieve the auditor from his responsibility to consider fraud and error in audit of financial statements. So what does it mean? In other words, irrespective of the auditor's comments under this clause, auditor is required to comply with the requirements of SA 240 कि भैया जो SA 240 की मेरी रिक्वायरमेंट्स थी उसके हिसाब से तो मेरे को सब देखना है, सब चलना है. ये सिर्फ एक एडिशनल रिपोर्टिंग रिक्वायरमेंट है बिकॉज लॉ हैज प्रिस्क्राइब्ड इट, Companies Act 2013 has prescribed it. A specific order has been issued by the central government which asks the auditor, which requires the auditor of a company to report on certain matters. To whom? In respect of those companies to which this order is applicable. And one clause is clause number 11 relating to frauds. और फ्रॉड के बारे में CARO 2020 में 3 चीजें रिपोर्ट करनी है. वो 3 चीजें हम डिस्कस कर चुके हैं. क्लियर गाइस? फेयर इनफ? So audit procedures and reporting under CARO. So क्या अब CARO 2020 में रिपोर्टिंग करने के लिए क्या ऑडिटर के प्रोसीजर होने चाहिए? What should be the procedure? How the auditor would arrive at this information? So would arrive at information required to be reported in CARO 2020. So CARO 2020 में guys, what was the first point? First point was to be reported was frauds noticed or reported, okay, during the year by the company or on the company. Okay, so first thing is क्या है? वो प्लानिंग में ही, when planning the audit documentation includes everything. Yes, it is the audit report is itself part of audit file. So while planning the audit, the auditor should discuss with other members of team the susceptibility of the company, the risk of the company to material misstatements resulting from fraud. So while planning, the auditor should make inquiries from the management, आपको whether you know of some fraud which has occurred in the company. So if some fraud is already known to the management, then obviously they are bound to tell to the auditor, because only then he will be able to state whether fraud has been discovered by the management and it is already in the knowledge of the management. And another thing is he should see the reports of internal auditor. So अगर कंपनी में इंटरनल ऑडिटर है, okay, the company is required to appoint an internal auditor in terms of section 138 of the Companies Act. Okay, ऑडिटर उसकी रिपोर्ट देख सकता है कि क्या इंटरनल ऑडिट की रिपोर्ट में कोई कमेंट्स है फ्रॉड के बारे में, कोई फ्रॉड डिस्कवर हुआ है. तो ऑडिट प्रोसीजर्स का क्या मतलब है? ऑडिट प्रोसीजर्स का मतलब है कि हाउ द ऑडिटर इज गोइंग टू प्रोसीड टू अराइव एट कंक्लूजन्स. दिस इज सिंपली मेंट गाइस, ये आपको शब्द बिल्कुल क्लियर होना चाहिए कि ऑडिट प्रोसीजर्स का मतलब क्या है. ब्रॉड, क्योंकि एग्जाम में क्वेश्चन जनरली रिपोर्टिंग और प्रोसीजर्स के बारे में बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चन है. अगर आपको पता ही नहीं है कि प्रोसीजर्स का क्या मतलब है, तो देन व्हाट यू वुड राइट. तो यू शुड बी क्रिस्टल क्लियर कि रिपोर्टिंग का क्या मतलब है, प्रोसीजर्स का क्या मतलब है. ओके, सो द ऑडिटर शुड इंक्वायर फ्रॉम द मैनेजमेंट about any frauds on the company that it has noticed or that have been reported to it. Matter should also be discussed with other employees. Auditor should also examine the minute book of the board. अगर कुछ फ्रॉड हुआ है तो मिनट बुक में क्या, किस मीटिंग में डिस्कस हुआ है, क्या बोर्ड ने उसके लिए एक्शन लिए है. ओके, the auditor should also inquire from the management about any whistleblower complaints received during the year, okay, by the company or they may have been reported to it. Whistleblower complaints क्या रिसीव हुए हैं, तो ऑडिटर कोई ना कोई एविडेंस लेगा ना. से he would inquire from the management also, he would review the minutes, he would go through the records of meetings and to see whether some whistleblower complaint has been received. Okay, now Miss Ume Romanna, you are asking if team members know the fraud but not mentioned in discussions. Which team members you are referring to? Team members of audit team or you are talking about management? Which team members you are referring to? Because team we normally call the audit team, engagement team. So the auditor should discuss matter with other employees including officers of the company. Auditor should obtain written representation. So again, the auditor should obtain written representation. So guys, when you were studying written representation in chapter 3, you had understood that written representation by itself is not a sufficient appropriate evidence. You remember? आपको रिटर्न रिप्रेजेंटेशन लेनी है, ये एक एविडेंस है, लेकिन अपने आप में एक सफिशिएंट अप्रोप्रिएट नहीं है. इट इज ए कोरोबोरेटिव एविडेंस, सप्लीमेंट करता है, ऑडिट डॉक्यूमेंटेशन का पार्ट है. अगर रिटर्न रिप्रेजेंटेशन पे आपने सब कुछ एक्सेप्ट कर लिया, तो व्हाट मैनेजमेंट इज सेइंग यू आर एक्सेप्टिंग इट, यू आर नॉट क्वेश्चनिंग इट. देन व्हाट इज द, वेयर इज द प्रोफेशनल स्केप्टिसिज्म, वेयर इज द एटीट्यूड ऑफ क्वेश्चनिंग माइंड. ठीक है, आपने एक स्टेप है, मैनेजमेंट ने रिप्रेजेंटेशन दी कि वी आर रिस्पॉन्सिबल फॉर इम्प्लीमेंटेशन ऑफ अकाउंटिंग सिस्टम, वी आर रिस्पॉन्सिबल फॉर प्रिवेंशन एंड डिटेक्शन ऑफ फ्रॉड्स, और some fraud, no fraud has been discovered. Management represents, but you have to see through documentation, through evidence also, okay, that whatever management is saying, whether the paper support it. Okay, so written representation should be obtained from the management. So these are all the things which you have read in chapter 1, chapter 3 also, that it believes that effects of uncorrected statements are immaterial taken as a whole, that it has disclosed to the auditor all significant facts related to fraud. So this helps in saving the auditor. ये इसीलिए कहते हैं कि एंगेजमेंट डॉक्यूमेंटेशन की क्या इंपॉर्टेंस है, ऑडिट वर्किंग पेपर्स की क्या इंपॉर्टेंस है, बिकॉज दीज ऑल थिंग्स गो इनटू योर ऑडिट फाइल. ओके, these all things go on to prove that you did all the reasonable steps, you did all reasonable things which was required of a professional of your stature to do, and you have carried out the audit procedures also. You have obtained written representations also. You have obtained representations from management also. So this is how the audit should have been proceeded with. Okay. Because management is responsible for adjusting the financial statements to correct material misstatements. Ultimately, अगर कोई मिसस्टेटमेंट है तो फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स को करेक्ट करने की रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी भी किसकी है? मैनेजमेंट की है. ओके, सो द ऑडिटर ऑब्टेन्स रिटन रिप्रेजेंटेशन फ्रॉम मैनेजमेंट दैट एनी अनकरेक्टेड मिसस्टेटमेंट्स रिजल्टिंग फ्रॉम फ्रॉड आर इमैटेरियल. कि अगर कोई फ्रॉड हुआ है और उसमें उसका इफेक्ट वो हो रहा है कि कुछ मिस स्टेटमेंट्स आ रही हैं फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स में, उसकी वजह से, तो वो या तो मैनेजमेंट कहे कि हमने करेक्ट कर लिया है, उसका इफेक्ट अकाउंट फॉर कर लिया है, या वो कहे कि इसका इफेक्ट ओवरऑल फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट से इमैटेरियल है. ओके, यस आलोक, 143.12 requirement is a reporting requirement to the central government, to Secretary, Ministry of Corporate Affairs, if fraud amount is rupees 1 crore or more. A form has to be filed which is ADT4. Okay, CARO 2020 is not only about fraud, it contains many clauses. Okay, it contains many 25 clauses, and one of the clauses relates to reporting of fraud requirement. It is only a reporting requirement. It does not any way reduces the responsibility of auditor in relation to misstatements in the financial statements. Opinion तो उसको ध्यान में रखना है. I told you that ultimate thing the auditor is concerned with is opinion. अगर फ्रॉड है तो वो ओपिनियन को कैसे इफेक्ट कर रहा है, क्या उसका इफेक्ट मटेरियल है? ओके, मटेरियल है तो क्या अकाउंट फॉर हो गया? क्या वो जो मिस स्टेटमेंट्स हैं वो करेक्ट हो, उसका इफेक्ट अकाउंट फॉर हो गया या नहीं हुआ? तो उसके बारे में बात हो रही है. So such representations are not a substitute for obtaining sufficient appropriate audit evidence. So one thing which I was telling you, that representations, written representations are not a substitute for sufficient appropriate audit evidence, and management can also give conditional representation. Okay, that they may say that we do not agree that items constitute misstatement because of this, that these are not misstatements. Again, I have told you that this clause will include only reported frauds and not suspected frauds, whereas 143.12 relates to suspected frauds also, but suspected frauds not on the basis of hearsay, सिर्फ सुनी सुनाई बात पे नहीं, on the sound reason. He should have reason to believe. ओके, सस्पेक्ट ये नहीं कि मेरे को लग रहा है कि फ्रॉड है. अगर मेरे को लग रहा है तो क्यों लग रहा है? व्हाट रीजंस डू आई हैव, व्हाट रीजंस डू आई हैव टू बिलीव? सिर्फ सिर्फ सोचना तो आदमी बहुत कुछ सोचता है अपने माइंड में. ओके. Where the auditor notices any fraud by the company on the company or by its officers during the year, then apart from reporting the existing frauds, he should also report the nature and the amount involved. This is what is in CARO 2020. So this clause requires all frauds noticed or reported during the year. All frauds noticed or reported. I have told you that it does not cover merely fraud perpetrated by officers or employees of the company. Okay. It includes frauds on the company, frauds by the company. Okay. Of the frauds covered under section 143(12), only noticed frauds shall be and not suspected frauds. While reporting under this clause, the auditor may consider the principles of materiality. This is materiality is to be kept in mind everywhere. In every procedure of auditing, while planning, performing, everything, while evaluating audit evidence, while communicating, while evaluating effect of uncorrected misstatements, materiality has to be kept in mind everywhere. Okay. Yes, Abdul, you are saying why not suspected frauds in CARO 2020? Because the law has decided to be such. For suspected frauds, they have put in a separate mechanism under section 143, subsection 12. If the amount is 1 CR or more, and this is a general, this is for reporting requirement that CARO is to be given in almost all companies except those companies to whom it is not applicable. So this is an additional reporting requirement. Okay, because law has thought it this way. The legislature, the law-making authorities, they have thought it this way in their wisdom. Okay. Noticed and suspected, I have already explained n number of times today. Okay. So is that clear? So guys, at this stage, we shall be taking a short break of 10 minutes. See you after 10 minutes. So break of 10 minutes. Break of 10 minutes. Yes, guys. So, Dinesh, you are asking, is it your last session for this month? It is last session. And for further, this is best known to Board of Studies. Okay. Now, Dinesh, you are asking if fraud is detected during audit of any other entities other than companies, then the auditor has to see how his opinion is affected. Because in case of companies, these are very companies are regulated entities, and there is a requirement. Therefore, there is a requirement under Companies Act 2013 to report uh, besides the effect on his opinion part in the audit report. So the auditor has to see how the discovery of fraud is affecting his opinion. Okay. So whether the effect of misstatements is material or whether it is immaterial, whether effect of misstatements due to fraud, it has been it has been corrected, those misstatements have been corrected by management. So these type of things have to be considered. So Pranav, I have also answered your question also, and Dinyansh also. So guys, it might so happen that uh, in some cases there might be such circumstances resulting from fraud or suspected fraud, or say the amount is so huge, the auditor may consider that he will not be able to continue performing the audit. That it is all like, for example, it might be so pervasive that in everything in relation to profit, in relation to sales, in relation to purchases, in relation to expenses, everything there is it is impacted by fraud. Okay. So the auditor might encounter such a situation, and it is not restricted to one element of the financial statement. It might so happen, or there can be some other situation also. I am giving you an example. So then in such circumstances, what the auditor can do? He will determine what are his legal responsibilities, whether he can quit, whether he can withdraw from the engagement, whether it is legally possible for him to withdraw from the engagement. If yes, then if it is legally possible to withdraw from the engagement, then he can withdraw as possible under that law or regulation. Okay. And if he withdraws, he shall also discuss with the management uh, his withdrawal from the engagement and reasons for withdrawal. That is also important. And he shall also see whether after he is due to his withdrawal, whether there is his responsibility to report to the regulator or to legal authorities. Okay, whether that is very important, whether he is required to report it or not. Okay. So the auditor can withdraw, as say 240 states. The auditor can withdraw in some exceptional circumstances that might bring into question overall ability of auditor to continue to perform the audit. Okay, like many things he have discovered which point towards fraud, and the management is very non-cooperative. They are not providing further information. Say without providing further information, the amount cannot be quantified. So these kind of things. Okay, then the auditor can withdraw from the engagement, and it would be his responsibility to inform the management and also to inform the regulatory authorities, and he has to see whether under the law in which he has been appointed, whether it is permissible to withdraw from the engagement or not. Okay. So guys, I think you have got a fair broad idea of auditors' responsibilities regarding fraud. Okay. So we shall make a quick recap first. So first of all, meaning of fraud. So we had discussed that as per SA 240, fraud has following characteristics. It is perpetrated by, it is committed by one or more persons, and it involves what? It involves use of deception. And further, what is the purpose of fraud? Purpose of fraud is to obtain an unrich or illegal advantage. Okay. So fraud involves the use of deception, and it may be committed by management, those charged with governance, employees, or third parties. Okay. And not the least, it is an nevertheless, it is an intentional act. It is an intentional act. Guys, this intentional is very important because this is what it distinguishes it from genuine bona fide errors. So fraud is always an intentional act. Okay, clear? So we had also discussed that auditor does not determine legal determinations of fraud. अब कई स्टूडेंट्स बार बार ये पूछ रहे हैं लीगल डिटर्मिनेशन का क्या मतलब है. Say whether a fraud has occurred or not is, I told you, it is a fraud is a legal offense, it is an offense, it is a criminal offense. Okay. So to establish such kind of things, say a deep investigation might be necessary. Now, genuineness of documents would have to be seen, whether documents are fabricated or not. So we had learned in chapter 1 that auditor is not an expert to judge whether the documents are genuine or not. He can be fooled around. Okay. So whether documents have been fabricated or not. So this is the work of investigating agencies. And finally, whether fraud has occurred within the four corners of law, within the meaning of law, it is for the courts to decide. So that is why we say in auditing that auditor might suspect, that auditor usually suspects fraud. He has reasons to believe that fraud has occurred. Okay, based upon the audit evidence he can obtain, the audit evidence he can collect, keeping in view the scope of his engagement, keeping in view scope of the auditing, keeping in view inherent limitation of auditing, keeping in view inherent limitation of audit procedures. Okay. So is that clear, guys? So why the auditor cannot determine legally that fraud has occurred? Because it involves so many things. It involves authentication of documents, which is not the domain of the auditor. Okay. So determination of fraud might also involve investigation, and auditor has no power to conduct an investigation. You had learnt in chapter 1 that audit differs from investigation. He has no power to record statements. He cannot force somebody to give statement. If somebody does not provide the information, he can only report. Okay. And we had also seen that fraud consists of two types. Okay. it pertains to fraudulent financial reporting, and it pertains to misappropriation of assets. And misappropriation of assets is again divided into misappropriation of goods and defalcation of cash. Okay, both things we had considered. And we had also considered what prompts the management or the employees or somebody else to commit a fraud, to perpetrate a fraud. We had tried to understand the reasons for committing fraud. Why do we want to understand the reason? Because understanding such reasons helps the auditor in identifying fraud risk factors. Okay, because it helps him in understanding that what is the motive of fraud? Why do people commit fraud? Because it would help him in identifying situations which pose risk of material misstatement due to fraud. So we had discussed basically 3 types of reasons which induce persons to commit fraud. So what were 3 types of reasons? One was incentive or pressure, like management is under pressure, management to commit fraud, to report higher earnings, to show it to the banks, or to meet market expectations. And second thing was perceived opportunities. So when some person is in such a position, he is in a position of trust, he knows that he can override the controls, that he can bypass those controls and he will not be caught. Okay, he sees an opportunity in it and he commits a fraud because he knows that he is not going to be questioned by anybody. Okay. And third thing was rationalization of attitudes, that some people have this kind of attitude, unethical attitude of committing dishonest acts. However hard you might try to persuade them, they will always do unethical things because their psychology is such, because there's this bent of mind. Okay. So clear, guys, three types of fraud. And we had also discussed how fraudulent financial reporting is done. It is done by manipulation of accounts, okay, by misrepresentation. It might be intentional and it might be omission, and intentional misapplication of accounting principles. Okay, all the three things we had discussed in detail. We had also discussed in defalcation of cash, very important, very significant method of suppressing the cash receipts. So what was the name of this method, guys? Do you remember? Do you remember, guys, what was the name of this method? The method by which cash receipts are suppressed. That the employee receives cash from some customer, and instead of depositing it with the company, the amount goes into his own pocket, and when he receives amount from another customer, he posts in the account of the customer, and in this way the leeway he enjoys, okay, till the time the cycle is broken. So this is called as what method? This is known as it's a method of suppressing receipts. It is a method of suppressing receipts. Yes, it is teaming and slading. So guys, Pratika, Geet Chauhan, you are writing correctly. Jyoti Jha and Pritika, what spellings you are writing? Teaming, T-E-E-M-I-N-G, okay, and leading, Leading. Leading. It is not leading. It is leading. Lading. तो जब आप स्टूडेंट्स, जब आप पढ़ो, ध्यान से पढ़िए, कंसंट्रेशन से पढ़िए. अब एक बार पढ़ेंगे, दूसरी बार पढ़ेंगे, आपको कुछ और दिखेगा. इसलिए कंसंट्रेशन बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. अब्दुल, यू आर सेइंग लीडिंग एंड टीमिंग. नो, you should learn to write the correct term. अगर आप अभी गलत लिखेंगे तो एग्जाम में भी गलत लिख के आएंगे. Examiner would make a circle. Teaming and leading. It is not leading and teaming. Now Anish, you are saying teaming and learning. तो यही होता है. इसीलिए मैं स्टूडेंट्स आपको कह रहा हूं, बार बार टर्म्स अपने माइंड में रिपीट करिए और वर्ड कॉपी में आपने रजिस्टर में लिख के देखिए और उसको टैली करिए मॉड्यूल से कि जो आप सोच रहे हैं वो लिख रहे हैं क्या वो सेम है. आधे स्टूडेंट के तो नंबर इस वजह से ही कट जाते होंगे पेपर्स में, क्योंकि बिकॉज जो आप सोच रहे हो वो आप लिख नहीं रहे. दिस इज मेजर प्रॉब्लम, नॉट ओनली इन ऑडिटिंग बट इन ऑल द सब्जेक्ट्स. ओके. तो मितेश भाई पटेल, you are saying very often the auditor himself inform those charged with the governance or latest fraud techniques. Now, if the auditor is doing such type of thing, then he is committing an offense himself. Okay, he is committing an offense. If the hypothetical situation you are telling, if it happens that, then he is himself an offender. He is committing an offense himself. He has violated the Act, Companies Act. He has violated the Chartered Accountants Act 1949. He has violated Code of Ethics. He has committed professional misconduct. Okay, he will be behind the bars. So this is the answer of that question. So clear. So, and another one important topic was that what was the duty of auditor in relation to detection of frauds. So whether it is his primary duty to discover frauds, or whose primary duty it is to discover the frauds. So we had discussed that the primary duty to discover frauds rests with management of the company. It is of the management of the company, not only discovery of frauds, but also prevention and detection of frauds, of devising a suitable internal control mechanism which forms such a system which is capable of preventing the frauds, or if these do occur, of detecting them. Okay. And in case the audit, it is alleged after the audit report is issued that a fraud has been discovered and that has not been pointed out in the audit report and the auditor has not reported, then whose responsibility would it be? Would it be of auditors? Would he be held liable? He would be held liable only when he is not able to show that he conducted the audit in accordance with standards on auditing. He complied with all the professional standards. He should be able to demonstrate that he has conducted the audit in accordance with standards on auditing. He would have to show the documentation, okay, that he performed all the procedures which were mandated under standards on auditing. And despite application of all these procedures. Despite performing all these procedures, these procedures were not enough to discover the fraud, because fraud was so deep laid, it was so cleverly made that the auditor was not able to discover, even after performing the mandated procedures which were required there as per standards on auditing. Okay. So clear. So guys, we had also discussed about fraud risk factors. Okay. So what are the fraud risk factors? Like there are negative cash flows in the company, or if the market is saturated, if there are declining margins, there is high competition in the market. Okay. Or say the attitude of management is non-cooperative with the auditor. It is also a fraud risk factor, that management is not cooperating with the auditor. वो मैनेजमेंट कई टाइप के बहाने कर रही है, ठीक है. सो तो ऑडिटर को समझना चाहिए कि भाई ये समथिंग फिशी शुड बी देयर. नाउ इट हैज टू बी backed by some evidence. Okay. Why they are not giving me the information, why they are delaying it. Okay. So these kind of things. Yes, failure to report fraud the auditor is liable to penalty. If the auditor does not report under section 143(12), he is liable to penalty. In case of listed companies, 5 lakhs. In case of other companies, 1 lakhs. And we had also discussed the reporting requirements under CARO 2020. There were 3 reporting requirements under CARO 2020. So these 3 reporting requirements were reporting of frauds noticed or reported during the year, and about whistleblower complaints received during the year, and whether the auditor has reported some fraud in form ADT4. Okay. So ADT4, you would remember ADT4 relates to reporting under 143 subsection 12 in case of companies where fraud amount is rupees 1 crore or more. So individually, guys, many of you are again saying to explain individually. Individually means that, say if one fraud is there, conducted by 2 or 3 employees, and its amount is 1 crore or more. Okay, that situation is 1 crore or more. Okay, this is the meaning of individually. Okay, that means that the fraud which the auditor is going to report, its amount, keeping in view that situation, keeping in view that modus operandi, is 1 crore or more. Okay. Now, Pranav, you are asking if audit is done of an entity other than company, then what? Then these reporting requirements do not apply. These reporting requirements 143(12) and CARO 2020 only apply in case of companies, because these are specified in Companies Act. So these are applicable to companies only. In case of other entities, the auditor would have to see its effect in accordance with SA 240. Okay. Or if there is some special framework or some other law is applicable to those entities, and if there is any requirement in respect to those, then also, like in case of banks, the matter might be reported to RBI. Okay. there might be separate reporting requirements. The matter might warrant reporting to RBI. So it depends. It depends. So broadly, you have to keep in mind the requirements of SA 240 and the requirements of respective law, which is applicable to that entity. Okay. So guys, now we shall quickly do some questions. Are you ready? Are you ready for some MCQs, guys? Some simple MCQs. Are you ready, guys? Are you able to see the screen? Are you able to see the screen, students? Drop your mails. Are you able to see the screens? Now, very simple. Which statement is used by statutory auditor of a company to report fraud of 1 crore or above under section 143(12)? ADT 14, FDT 14. What is the answer? Yes, only 4 mails. अरे भैया ये तो बता दो सब. ये तो सब बता दो जितने लोगों ने ज्वाइन किया हुआ है. अभी तो कितनी बार मैं बोल चुका हूं आज के दिन. अब तक तो आपको याद हो जाना चाहिए स्टूडेंट्स. बार बार बोलने का यही मतलब है. Yes, now mails have come. Jyoti Jha, Murtaza Ali, Dinyan Chingle, Pranav, Saurabh Sagar, Pritika, Palak Chadda, S. Ansari, Harshita, everybody, Ahmad Ali, Chitala, Yashaswani, everybody is writing correctly. Yes, done. तो चलो कुछ तो स्टूडेंट्स फायदा हुआ आपको, कुछ तो याद हुआ आज. ADT 4. This is the correct answer. ADT 4. So Abdul, Companies Act, provisions of Companies Act are also applicable to banks also. So obviously it would be reported to RBI. Because you would remember section 2 of the Companies Act. All the provisions of Companies Act are applicable to banks also, to the extent these are not inconsistent with their respective act, with the Banking Regulation Act. Okay. Number 2, the management of a company is involved in artificially shoring up its revenue by rupees 50 crore. Which of the following statements is most appropriate in this regard? The management is involved in artificially shoring up its revenue, okay, by 50 crore. So which of the following statements is most appropriate in this regard? Question number 2. Yes. Yes, students, question number 2. One is, option is, such manipulation of accounts is easy to detect, to discover by auditor. Such manipulation is difficult to discover. Such manipulation cannot be discovered. There is no consideration of difficulty involved in such cases. Yes. Now few replies have come. Balaji, Abdul, Divyansh, Pritika, Jyoti, Chitala, Pranav. ऑल स्टूडेंट्स, आपने लगता है ये चैप्टर बहुत अच्छी तरह से समझ लिया है, या क्वेश्चन ही आसान है शायद, या आपने चैप्टर अच्छी तरह से समझा है? सो एनीवे, थम्स अप। ओनली वन, ये few people have given wrong answer. Geet Chauhan and Alok, how you are saying it is option D? It is option B. This is the correct answer. This is wrong. अगर मैनेजमेंट फ्रॉड कर रही है तो इट मींस उसकी केयरफुली लेड डाउन स्कीम है. Management is itself involved in committing fraud. It means it is overriding controls. There is some deliberate scheme behind it. तो उन्होंने सब कुछ सोच समझ के किया होगा ताकि they would not be caught. So such type of manipulation of accounts is difficult to discover by auditor. It is difficult to discover. It is difficult to discover. There is no, ये कैसे आप कह सकते हैं there is no consideration of difficulty? कोई चीज डिफिकल्ट है या नहीं, ये तो होता ही है. जैसे अगर ये फ्रॉड किसी एम्प्लॉय ने किया होता तो वो इजी है उसको डिस्कवर करना, मैनेजमेंट का मुश्किल है. तो ये हम नहीं कह सकते कि इसमें डिफिकल्टी लेवल का कोई फैक्टर ही नहीं होता. डिफिकल्टी लेवल का फैक्टर होता है, डेफिनेटली होता है. So you have understood correctly, Alok and Geet Chauhan, that the answer is B, not D. Answer is B, not D. Have you understood? Yes. So तभी तो आप गीत, यू आर राइटिंग, यू कंसिडर्ड अमाउंट इन्वॉल्व. तो आपको स्टेटमेंट को ध्यान से पढ़ना चाहिए कि वो क्या, व्हाट द इंटेंट ऑफ क्वेश्चन इज, कि वो आपसे क्या पूछना चाह रहा है. सिर्फ 50 करोड़ को देके आंसर नहीं देना. ओके. Which of the following is not a characteristic of fraud as per SA 240? Which of the following is not a characteristic? अब not a characteristics है, तीन चीज फ्रॉड के characteristics है, एक नहीं है. Which of the following is not a characteristics of fraud? Only two males, Anish and Abdul. Which of the following is not a characteristic of fraud as per SA 240? One is it is intentional. Other is its purpose is to obtain an unjust or illegal advantage. C is it involves use of deception or it involves use of perception. Yes, guys, only 4 males have come. Yes, others have also sent. Third D. Yes, this is correct. ये चंचल केशरवानी एंड सुभाष सागर, सौरभ सागर, सॉरी सौरभ सागर, हाउ यू आर राइटिंग इट्स बी? भैया बी कैसे लिख रहे हैं? ये तो क्लियर ही पता चल रहा है कि ये फ्रॉड का कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स है. फ्रॉड का पर्पस क्या होता है? टू ऑब्टेन एन अनजस्ट एडवांटेज, टू ऑब्टेन एन इलीगल एडवांटेज. यही तो उसका पर्पस होता है SA 240 के हिसाब से. फर्स्ट पेज ऑफ योर मॉड्यूल. इट इज इंटेंशनल. Its purpose is to obtain unjust or illegal disadvantage. Advantage. It involves use of deception. Deception means to deceive, धोखा देना. And it involves use of perception. Perception होता है किसी चीज को समझना, perceive करना किसी चीज को फील करना। ओके, व्हाट, किसी चीज को कोई आदमी कैसे समझता है? सो आंसर इज डी, नॉट बी। हाउ चंचल यू आर राइटिंग बी? बी तो एसेंशियल करेक्टरिस्टिक है फ्रॉड का। एंड सौरभ, यू टू, हाउ यू आर राइटिंग बी? टेल मी हाउ कम यू हैव रिटन? नाउ नंबर फोर्थ, identify frauds to be reported under clause 11 of CARO 2020। CARO 2020 में जो फ्रॉड्स रिपोर्ट होने हैं वो कौन से फ्रॉड है? ए बी सी डी 4 चीजें दी गई हैं। फ्रॉड सस्पेक्टेड ड्यूरिंग द ईयर, फ्रॉड सस्पेक्टेड और रिपोर्टेड ड्यूरिंग द ईयर, fraud noticed or reported during the year, fraud noticed or suspected during the year. Yes, what should be the answer? Question number 4, identify frauds to be reported under clause 11 of CARO 2020। This we had also discussed at great length. Few mails have come. मुर्तजा, गीत चौहान, दिन्यांश, हर्षिता, अनीश, प्रणव, प्रीतिका. What others are doing? Yes, guys. Identify frauds to be reported under clause 11 of CARO 2020। कौन से फ्रॉड है? फ्रॉड सस्पेक्टेड या सस्पेक्टेड और रिपोर्टेड, नोटिस्ड और रिपोर्टेड या नोटिस्ड और सस्पेक्टेड? बताइए। Yes, students, are you still logged in, or guys, many of you have left out due to boring lecture? So answer is fraud noticed or reported during the year. This is the requirement as per CARO 2020। सस्पेक्टेड की रिक्वायरमेंट नहीं है, इट वॉज देयर इन 143(12). Okay, so number 5 is, who is not required to report under 143(12) of Companies Act? Who is not required to report fraud under section 143(12) of Companies Act? Statutory auditor, secretarial auditor, cost auditor, or internal auditor? Yes, tell me. Very simple, basic question. Basic question. Who is not required to report under section 143 subsection 12? Yes, almost all. You have written D. Yes, correct. The answer is D. One guy, Rajendran P. How you are, Rajendran? You are writing C. कॉस्ट ऑडिटर मैंने आपको बताया था कि प्रोविजंस ऑफ 143(12) अप्लाई म्यूटेटिस म्यूटेंडिस टू सेक्रेटेरियल ऑडिटर एंड कॉस्ट ऑडिटर इन द सेम मैनर. Okay, how you are writing that answer is cost auditor? I told you that there might be some companies who might have to get their accounts audited by a cost auditor, special class of companies, and some companies where audit has to be conducted by company secretary in practice, secretarial auditor. So provisions of 143(12) apply to them also. If in course of performance of their duties, if they happen to discover some fraud, then they have also to report. So internal auditor in any way is not connected with reporting, because internal audit is a management function. Okay, he is not to report to regulator. So you understand, guys? So guys, is that fine enough? Were you able to gain understanding? Are you enjoying the subject? So our purpose is to make you understand the things, to make you familiarize with the things, so that when you people study from your module, your horizon is widened, and you are able to understand the things with greater ease. Okay. Because if you have not seen the lecture, then obviously if you start reading from the module, then you might find that many things are new, that you are not able to understand, that uh, things might be going above your head. So attending a lecture breaks all these things, because it helps you in having a feel of the topic under the consideration. And when you read from module, you are at a much comfort level. Your comfort level increases, and many of things you already remember. But if you do not read from your module after watching this lecture, then after say 2 months or 3 months, you will hardly remember anything, and all your sitting will go waste. So that is why it is important that once you have watched this class, you have heard this class, you have heard this lecture, then next step is to start reading from module and analyzing the things and remembering the things. Okay, guys. So this is all for today. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much for taking interest and making the session interactive by dropping the mails regularly. Thank you so much, all of you. Okay, good night. Good night. Good night, guys. Session over.